Hi everyone, welcome to our new webinar series for this time around. So it's a pleasure to host you all today, and we're just going to kick it off with the virtual claims webinar for today. I'm Desiree, I'm with Plug and Play. I'm a partner success manager dealing with a lot of our partners here partnered in the US in Silicon Valley. And I got the honor to host our keynote with Mike Williams from AON today. So we will kick it off in a couple minutes with his keynote, and then followed by 4 startups, Aclaimant, Attestiv, Evolution IQ, and Tractable. And we'll kick it off right away. So if we just go to the next slide, let me just introduce you to Mike Williams. He's one of the principal of AON. Very well, he's a claims strategist within AON. He serves as an advisory roles to executive teams in development and execution of strategies focused on bottom line profitabilities. And I think we couldn't have a better suited person to kick that webinar off, because he's really one of the guys who's data-driven, has data-driven approaches, enabled and ensured the opportunity to innovate and remain competitive in today's increasingly challenged P&C claims environments. His experience spans from all major lines of personal and commercial lines claims, including catastrophe response, litigation management, operational transformation, and technical handling improvement initiatives. So in his current role that he will elaborate a little bit further right away, he oversees the claims operational and technical initiatives to drive sustainable loss ratio improvement. He has worked with more than 60 insurers across South America, North America, Asia Pacific, and European markets. So he's the guy you want to talk to in case you want to learn about the next trends in virtual claims. So Mike, I will leave it up to you to take it from here and run us through your keynote. Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, Desiree, you able to hear me?
Perfectly fine. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I had to unmute my phone there. So first off, thanks for the time from Plug and Play, as well as all the participants on the call today. It's certainly an honor for us to be able to connect with everybody on this webinar today. I'm going to talk for a few minutes, get us started off here in today's sessions to talk about virtual claims. It's obviously a hot topic in the industry, and we're going to elaborate a little bit more on what it is, what makes it successful, why it's opportune right now, and how insurers can really utilize it to effectively drive some bottom line improvements to their company. Just a quick background on my part of AON. AON's a huge firm, 50-some thousand people worldwide. There's a lot of specialty groups within it. The part of AON that I come from is AON Endpoint. We have a claims P&C consultancy that AON stood up about a decade ago. We work with clients all across the world to help them drive improved loss and expense results. Basically, bottom line, there's a lot of moving parts, as everybody on this call knows. There's a lot of moving parts to a claims organization. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of technology, there's a lot of processes, there's severity issues, there's expenses. I mean, there's all sorts of complicating things to try to manage. And as a result, most carriers have some opportunity on the table that is untapped. And so our objective is to help insurers identify that and drive that value and help them effectively improve the bottom line. So let me talk about virtual adjusting, kind of get into that topic. It's a little bit of an ambiguous concept in the industry when it comes to how a carrier defines virtual adjusting. You can go from one company to the next and ask them about virtual adjusting, and some will say, yeah, we're doing it already, and you pop the hood and talk to them more about it, and it turns out it's fast track claims. And then others, it's really the full-blown virtual adjusting model. So just to clarify what exactly it is we're talking about here, and this is the Mike Williams definition of virtual adjusting. I'm going to read from the slide 2 times in this. This is one of those 2 times. Virtual adjusting is, as I call it, it's a combination of technology and business processes that deliver a similar collaborative experience with insureds as on-site inspections, but performed in a fully virtual environment. So this isn't fast track. This isn't just getting photos and handling the claim remotely. This is truly mirroring as much of that collaborative experience between the adjuster and the insured as would happen in person, but done in a virtual setting. And so that means it requires some technology, but it also involves quite a bit of business processes. So that's what we're talking about. Let's take a look and define it a little bit more clearly as to where we've been in the market, where we are with this, and where this is all going over the next 10, 20 years. So go back to the day when I started in claims back in the 90s. I caught at the very tail end of what we call the old school model, which was you, as an adjuster, you had cameras, 35 millimeter cameras or Polaroids, and you had a company car. Maybe it was independent adjusters, but it was a very effective model for the insured, but it was very inefficient and it was very inconvenient. It kind of mirrored the whole model of waiting for the cable guy between 8 o'clock and noon to show up at your house. So there's a big opportunity to get better from that model. So over the years, there've been, really driven by the auto industry, some technologies that have come into existence that allow insurers to, obviously we saw some portals stand up for first notice of loss, and then within that you could submit photos. And then the next step in that evolution was apps that would walk a claimant or an insured through how to get all the photos that you would need. Typically it was on the car, and you would want to make sure you get the odometer and the interior and all the points around the vehicle to be able to assess the damage and the condition of that vehicle. And those technologies really helped insurance companies stand up what we call fast track claims. That's not the same as virtual adjusting. Virtual adjusting is going a lot further into the technology and the business model behind it. So we're seeing what we call virtual develop very rapidly in the homeowners and property side, because it seems to be the untapped part of the market. But those platforms and those apps have kind of morphed into interactive video inspection, where an insured downloads an app, and now they've got an adjuster live on the video with them. They're walking through, getting video and photos of the house or the property or the vehicle. They're narrating how this happened, kind of memorializing the facts of what happened as well as the damage. And so there's a couple of good things that happen. One is it accelerates that whole process. Two, it adds an element of efficiency into that. Three, it better documents the loss. And one of the biggest pain points that we see in claims is you may get into a contested claim down the road, but you don't have sufficient documentation to defend it, especially in the homeowners market after a tear out's taken place. So these interactive video inspections are offering a lot of benefits we're going to get into with insurers as well as on the insured and claimant side. There's a lot of platforms that are in the market or coming into the market that offer this exact functionality, but it can't end there. And there's some that have really taken it quite a bit further from there. So things like optical, I call this optical measurement technology, where, and I'm sure there's a fancier term for it than that, but where the video and the photos are not only capturing the visual of it, but they're taking measurements on the damaged areas. And you're gonna hear from one of the Insurtechs that has this on the auto side here later on today. Also taking it into integration with vendor networks, so that insureds can be offered up a repair option of like a direct repair channel, or it can be put out for a bid process. And this is now taking and buckling together multiple technologies into a virtual adjusting platform that exponentially increases the value to both the insurance company as well as the customer. At the end of the day, where this is ultimately going to go, and this is going to be a slower landing spot here, but is touchless claims. And I've probably got 20 years of my insurance career ahead of me, and I'm going to venture to bet that sometime in that 20 years, we're going to see touchless claims, not just on the auto side, that's starting to happen, but on the homeowner side as well. And the appetite of the insurers are going to probably trail that of the tech development. You're going to see technologies come online, and it'll be a slow revolution for insurers to develop the appetite to do that. But it's been very well proven on the tech side and on the auto side to date, and you'll hear more about that in a little bit. Inevitably, this is going to be the reality in our claims market. And this is what I tell insurers all the time as an advisor to claim officers all across the country, is this is coming. There's already matured platforms out there. Now's the time to start looking into it, implementing it, piloting, and making use of it, because that gets you ahead of your competition. So this solves two challenges. One for the insurers, one for the customers. Insurers want the operational benefits of this. There's a lot of efficiencies to be had out of it. There's an indemnity improvement through reduced claims leakage. It obviously is going to offer more options and convenience to the customer, and so you'll get higher customer satisfaction scores. And we've got a number here I'll show you in a little bit that's pretty compelling on that front. It offers operational flexibility, especially after CAT events, but not every CAT claim is going to fit the profile of a virtual claim. So there's a lot of benefits to the insurers, but it's also something that the consumers want. Consumers have been coached into virtual adjusting through the auto side for years. Every commercial break on a football season seems to be an insurance company talking about their claim process being so easy. And I love that. I think it's long overdue. We're seeing that trickle into the homeowner side where insurers or claimants are starting to say, why does somebody have to come out to my house for this? This is pretty simple. Can I not just send you photos? Or better yet, can we just do a video of this? So the consumers want the convenience of this. And there's dual benefit here. So the combination of those two brings us to virtual adjusting solving some big problems. COVID-19 has obviously accelerated that tremendously. But even COVID aside, even before COVID and long after COVID comes and goes, all these benefits on the left and right are still going to be there. COVID really has nothing to do with those. It just makes them more advantageous at the moment. So this is not just a short-lived thing. Down at the bottom right, you can see some of the benefits that have been realized in virtual adjusting. I mean, who doesn't want $250 or $350 less LAE per claim? I mean, that's a hard number that's been realized by clients that have implemented this. Reduction in cycle times, claim resolution, improvement from former non-virtual channels. This also fits into all the hype that we've talked about the adjuster of the future. There's a lot of discussions that's been out there as to what is the future adjuster going to look like. And I was talking to an insurer yesterday that's been around for 51 years. And the comment that I had was, how much do you think the next 51 years of your business is going to look like the last 51? And everybody on the call was basically saying, no, it's very little resemblance in many ways. So, you think over there on the left side, what's the prior adjusting model? You send somebody out, they walk through the house with somebody, and it's effective, it's inefficient, and it's inconvenient. The future adjuster is going to be, we've all talked about tech-enabled, data-assisted, being able to handle more claims, but really focused on making decisions rather than administering or gathering facts. Now we're talking about bringing platforms in that condense the information and present it to an adjuster, and the value of the adjuster is much more of a loss specialist to make the decision. And this is a perfect example of what we've been saying for years about what the adjuster of the future is going to look like. So all that sounds great, but the reality is a lot of companies, and this is not just about virtual adjusting, a lot of carriers over the years have implemented technologies and not seen the full benefit that they expected. And it has very little, if not nothing, to do with the platforms themselves. Virtual adjusting, just like any other insurtech in the claims world, requires a lot of synergy between the technical implementation and the business process. There's a lot of great platforms that carriers spend time vetting, vendor selection, that sort of thing, implementing, integrating with their data model and their core platforms. And then they spend a little bit of time training adjusters how to use it, give them logins, and fast forward 6 months, and they really aren't seeing a whole lot of lift out of it, if any. And it's because the business process really hasn't been properly integrated to make benefit of those platforms. So we really need to talk about, what that interface looks like with the business process. And it really comes down to, for virtual, segmentation, the processes, and the data and QA. And one of the things I tell insurers is, if you're not willing to invest the time and effort in the business process, don't bother investing in the technology, because you're not going to see the benefit that you should. And there's many technologies out there that I've had clients where the same solution plugged into two different carriers that are very similar carriers, and one is just crushing their numbers phenomenally with the platform and love it, couldn't love it more. And then others using the same platform go, we're kind of lukewarm about it, it's not making a big dent. And so I pop the hood in the carriers and find out why. Why is that? And it almost always comes down to the business operation, not the technology platform. So I can't emphasize this enough, and this is really the message that I want folks to walk away with. When we talk about what that business integration is about on virtual adjusting, we're really talking about how you identify the claims that belong in that channel and more importantly, identify the claims that don't belong in the virtual channel. The same concept applies to a complex claim doesn't need to go to a rookie adjuster that's 6 months on the job. And along those same lines, certain claims don't belong in a virtual channel, but others absolutely do. And there's financial benefit and there's service benefits that we need to be able to deliver on. And so that means you've got to identify those, develop the assignment and segmentation rules, and then develop the processes around that and the quality controls around that to make sure that it works properly and it doesn't create some unintended consequences. And then very important, if not most important, is the data and quality management of this. So really to be able to track, are we using it when we should? Are we getting the value out of this? Is it driving the types of benefits that we're expecting? Is it improving the service? Is it making adjusters more successful? All those things that we are able to measure and ensure that we're maximizing our opportunity out of the platform. So a lot of data points in here. I'm not going to get into all these. This is just an example of the types of data points that we encourage carriers, or we help carriers to implement when they utilize virtual platforms. And it really gets down to, thinking about the process of utilization or the cycle times and the operational components of the tool, as well as obviously the financial impacts it's having across severity and things like reopen rates, or reserving accuracy is a big one, expense management and the results on that, and then obviously the service component. So when we think about virtual adjusting and then look at the claims triangle is what you balance across indemnity, expense, and service. Those are the three things in claims management that you really have to deliver across all three. And they're not mutually exclusive. Typically, if you can drive in one, it'll drive the other two. And we want to make sure that carriers design processes and reporting and data models that ensure that they're meeting all those and they're driving value in all three of those areas. Virtual definitely can do it, and it has done it. So the business case behind virtual, we've seen carriers really drive improvements to their adjusting expenses, allocated and unallocated loss expenses, indemnity improvements, more predictable loss development or reduced loss development, more predictable reserving, decreased utilization of independent adjusters. Selfishly, I'm all for that. I love independence when you have a cap, but you don't want to rely on them too heavily. And this really is a way in which to manage that overflow to independence, customer satisfaction, things like that. There's a number over here on the far right side you'll see, and this is a statistic from Claim Central, which is a virtual adjusting platform, one of a few out there. But this goes to show, and this is a hard number. We've verified this and looked closely at the results on this. 94% average customer satisfaction score on live video collaboration inspections. That is phenomenal. And anybody that's worried about is virtual going to deteriorate my service levels, I would say compare that number to the satisfaction numbers of field adjusting, and this is probably higher. So the question really is if I overutilize my staff and independence in the field, is that going to deteriorate my satisfaction results? So last few points here that I want folks to take away from this. One is, our claims landscape couldn't be evolving more quickly than it is. That's why everybody's on this call right now. That's why Plug and Play exists in our business. Consumers are expecting this as an option. We've set that expectation from the auto side, and it's there. It's not going away. This is inevitably going to be the direction of our industry. So it's time to start bringing this in-house as a capability. COVID-19 obviously accelerated it. We talked about that, but it's also made it an opportune time to develop this capability, because for many carriers, excluding the wildfires and Hurricane Laura, are seeing a decrease in loss frequency. So there's capacity in the claims department to take on projects like this. There are several very matured, well-tested, verifiable platforms that are on the market. This is not something that any carrier has to go out and invent from scratch. I mean, it's out there on the shelf. There's new ones in development, and all of them, quite frankly, are great. They all have different functionality, and so what works for one carrier may not work as much for another carrier. You have to figure out which one meets your need the best. So, last point, I would say now's the time spend some time with your teams. If you think that if you've looked in the market and you haven't found the solution that you're really looking for, chances are it's out there. So feel free to reach out through Plug and Play. They'll share my contact info with anybody on this call. Happily willing to engage any of the folks if anybody wants to talk further about this. So with that, I'll quit running my mouth. Desi, I'll hand it back over to you. And if anybody has any Q&A, I think we might have a couple of minutes for that.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Mike. And I see we don't have any questions from the audience yet, but feel free to submit them. We still have a couple minutes left. So I would just first of all, Mike, thank you very much. It was really insightful for everything, high level overview of everything we see. I think there is a lot going on the market and a lot of platforms out there. So questions that we often get asked, on the partner side, is why should they go with a startup solution? Why shouldn't they go with one of the existing larger providers? And what kind of advice would you give them? I think you brought in very well the business unit aspect and really thinking about the technology rather as an opportunity and going first on the business processes, but I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's a good question. Some of the bigger providers out there have virtual adjusting capabilities within their platforms. It's usually an additional fee, but it's very, very nominal. I mean, we're talking 5% of the cost of sending somebody out in the field. The functionality varies tremendously from one to the next. And that slide I showed that had the big arrow across the page, that's really what it gets down to. And some of the bigger carriers focus in on that video collaboration piece, and that's where it ends. Others might be a standalone managed repair platform, and then there's others that bring them all together, and they'll do the video collaboration. They'll have the functionality to send an estimate out for bid and choose among their panel, which one is coming in with the best rate, or it might be able to link a customer up with a series of contractors, and then the customer could choose, just like we did do in the auto industry, to say, here's our direct repair program. Feel free to pick whichever shop you want. Same applies on the homeowner side. We've drawn up an estimate, and here's access to the panel. If you want to, feel free to pick any of the contractors, and we'll guarantee the repairs that they perform. And it takes that hassle away from the customer. So the functionality is just very, very wide from one to the next. And some of the newer startups, in my opinion at least, can beat a lot of the bigger incumbents when it comes to what they offer in functionality, right? So spend that time to see what's out there, because there's a good chance that there's a newer startup that better fits your need.
Perfect, sounds good. Thank you very much. And just thinking about then best practice maybe for the startup side as well, since we have a couple startups also joining today, what would you give them as an advice whenever they do come across that question? So what kind of benefit do you provide to us? What would you give them as a mentorship giveaway?
What benefit that they provide to the insurer?
Yes.
Well, first off, I would say to an insurer, you need the startups or the platforms as much as they need you. And the benefit that they bring you is the ability to not just keep up with the customer's expectation, but more importantly, in a financial standpoint, keeping a carrier competitive. So driving these efficiencies isn't just a nice to have. I mean, as a finance guy myself, it's a must have. We have to contain the expense ratio. We have to drive better loss and indemnity results. That means we have to drive better customer satisfaction and reduce the development. This is one of those technologies that really just kind of hits on all of the cylinders here of where we need to drive results. There's not a lot of platforms that I would say are kind of no-brainers to this extent. There's a lot that are no-brainers, but virtual, is it going to solve every woe? No. And is it going to hit even the majority of claims? No, but if it can really apply to 10 or 20 or 30% of the claims, the amount of value that it drives on those is very significant to the loss and expense ratio.
Thank you very much, Mike. So if there are no other questions, I would just kind of close it with one last question, in case of you have such a great experience in so many different fields. So what is it that you give as an advice to, like, let's say early stage innovation carriers that really want to tackle now these business problems? What should they invest now in? Like that we have, COVID has accelerated a lot of things, but I think there are more to come. Technology will like bring even more opportunities now in the future more than ever. So what should they invest in? Is it that they should invest in people, in their business processing, sorting them out, or already looking out for startup solutions and setting their minds right?
When I work with different insurtech providers out there, there's a lot of really savvy technology people, and there's some savvy insurance people, but you need some savvy claims people, and that's a very different, not just skill set, but it's a different language. And there's a reality that needs to be brought to the table when implementing insurtech solutions in a claims environment, because what on paper might sound great may carry a rare but very significant unintended consequence. And that's what drives a lot of claims decision making, is to say, I think, pick any technology. I think this might be a great solution, but I'm worried that the 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000 claim could accidentally blow up because this wasn't applicable or wasn't utilized right. So what I would say is bring that claims expertise to the table. And I'm not trying to be selfish here. I mean, this is what we do, is we kind of bridge the gap between insurers and insurtechs to help with this dialogue. But make sure that you've got the right claims folks helping the clients or the prospects understand, what this type of technology means in a very realistic way. Those that have been successful with that really are able to drive a lot more value for their clients, and obviously that's going to drive tremendous momentum for their business development.
Thank you very much, Mike. So I see like there came in like 2 more questions on the panel side, but like on the audience side, but unfortunately we're almost out of time. So I really just want to thank you at this point. And like, I know like your contacts are open. So in case someone wants to reach out and deepen the conversation with Mike, we're happy to like connect you with one another or facilitate another conversation just to deep dive on that topic. I think there is a lot more to explore. And thank you very much, Mike. It was an honor.
Thank you very much.
Perfect. So I'm going to move on since we have like our next few startups on the line. So just to mention here again, like you're always free to submit questions at any time. Just as a best practice guideline to kick it off the session, please remain muted unless you're presenting. Submit your startup questions on the Q&A button in the window as said just now. So use the chat feature for general questions or comments, and please complete the poll whenever it comes up. Like after each presentation, we're going to have a short poll. And so you can also directly connect with the startups. And also keep in mind that you stay on the line until the end, and then we will give you some guidance on like which next events to join, and also to fill out the NPS score to let us know whether you like the session of today or not. And so we can keep elaborating on those. So thank you. And then we go over to the first startup. So the first startup is Aclaimant. Aclaimant streamlines workplace safety, incident and claims management into a single system to help companies manage risk better. And we have David, the co-founder of Aclaimant, founded in 2014 here on the line, and they were one of our batch program startups. So it's a pleasure to host you here today, David.
Thank you. Great to be here and appreciate the opportunity. You guys can all hear me okay?
We can hear you perfect. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right. And then let me know if you are able to see my screen as well. All right. So thank you, everybody, for the opportunity. Very excited to be back with Plug and Play. Great organization. We always have really productive conversations coming out of each of these sessions, although first virtual session we've done. So hopefully the engagement is just as strong. Just to echo a bunch of the things that Mike had been sharing, we couldn't agree more with the synopsis around how virtual claims are kind of impacting the insurance industry. I think the only thing that we'll add and go deeper on is our platform is very focused in the commercial P&C universe, but with the same exact types of trends that were mentioned in auto and in home. So at Aclaimant, we call ourselves an insight-driven workflow solution for safety and risk managers. We help identify and protect what's important. In plain English, we work on developing workflow solutions that are primarily designed to help safety and risk management team members and teams that are involved in those processes do their jobs faster, better, smarter, and easier, because everything that we see is the amount of complexity, redundancy, problems, and most importantly, the lack of good data to make smart and important decisions is really one of those major opportunity and improvement areas that's available as you kind of begin to look through the universe of what's happening. We do this through 3 complementary modules: workplace safety, instant claims workflow, and analytics. And this works across, again, both the policyholders, the brokers or agents who are involved in the claims and claim prevention universe, as well as in the carriers and TPAs who are servicing claims as they, again, originate from the actual insureds all the way through the process. We kind of find is that by putting each of these things into a single connected system, you create not only the connectivity, but you create data and transparency, you create speed of information, and you remove all of the obstacles to helping people get better decisions at every step along the way. And so to walk through in detail workplace safety, observations, audits, and inspections, everything that's being done on a preventative basis or an exploratory root cause basis can be done on a mobile device connected in one system. The incident and claims workflow components of what we do allow people to go ahead and report FNOL, incidents, or claims, and then work through all the associated processes that are involved from the policyholder and broker side through completion, root cause, follow-up, OSHA, state forms, vendor selection, et cetera. And we wrap it all into one simple and easy to understand analytics layer to make sure people have access to the data they need in real time. We do this with leading companies across a variety of verticals and a variety of channels. So staffing, construction, manufacturing, hospitality, as well as with brokers, agents, carriers, and TPAs, big and small. We find that each of the teams who touch this process are looking for ways to make the actual policyholder experience better. And that's really where we focus, is helping either the policyholders make their own experience better, help the broker assist the people they're providing or selling insurance to, or help the carriers and TPAs give tools to their policyholders to both keep them safe and ensure when things happen, that they can happen much more organically, easily, and with much less angst for what we all know is a very complex and convoluted process. To give you a couple of examples here, some of the use cases to kind of help to hammer this home. The first is the front end for loss control and risk engineering. Very often that we find claims can be prevented or mitigated or followed up on by simply ensuring the people who are buying the insurance are doing the things to help keep themselves safe or investigate as things happen. So our mobile platform allows the policyholder and their team across sites to work through predefined processes and follow-ups. Digital claim reporting and FNOL, especially for complex organizations, multi-state, multi-lines of coverage, potential complexities based on what's happening. We give them an easy step-by-step solution that will walk them through the logic on the commercial side of an individual company that can understand every single branch manager, store owner, supervisor, superintendent, et cetera, can now have a tool that makes it easy to not only know what to do, who to do it for, what information to send, what line of coverage to file things with. So you take, again, this giant complex web of I got hurt in Ohio and so on, you turn it into press a button, follow the steps like TurboTax, and the rest is easy. We centralize claims information and provide easy to understand analytic dashboards that make it easy for everyone involved in this process to know exactly what's happening, where it's happening, and how it's happening in a beautiful, updated, real-time fashion. So things go from having to be pulled once a month, once a quarter, once before renewal, to real-time visibility into what's happening inside of claim organizations. And again, we provide that collaborative platform for policyholders, brokers, and their insurers to all have access to a connected workflow. The thought being the more people who are involved in a transparent, open, and collaborative process, the more you can do things like fight fraud, improve information flow, and make sure everyone's working towards that common goal of mitigating, reducing, and preventing claims, especially those that are unnecessary. With that, I'm David Wald. Alex Chilla from our team also on the line. Happy to take any questions and have a couple more examples to go ahead and walk through from here. So thank you very much.
So sorry, just had to unmute myself. Thank you very much, David. That was really insightful, and I really appreciate the use cases. So just curious, like you've been in the market now for quite some time already. What has been your biggest success story so far? Like, what are you particularly proud of, and what can you, like, taking up on that, what I already mentioned before, what was the best practice that you would advise for a future carrier that you want to work with?
Yeah, so I think the single biggest thing that I think we're most proud of is in kind of the 6 years since we started, we have now successfully closed a handful of some of the largest carriers and TPAs in the country after getting solid no's in 2014 and 15. So I think what was really interesting was in our evolution, you guys, I'm sure, who all have been in the space for a while, 2014 and 15, when we started, we kind of came with this idea of saying, hey, can you provide digital solutions to your insurers to help them help themselves? Would you be interested? And every single one of them said, hey, super interesting, but you have to go prove that it works. We will not take the risk today to go ahead and see that happen. And I think we were fortunate to start landing, companies as large as, 500,000, 100,000 employees. And that really drove adoption to the insurance ecosystem led by their customers. And a number of those people early on who said, hey, go prove it, came back and said, especially in the past 12 months, you have most definitely proven it. Let's go ahead and find a way to work together. So I think for us, really finding the ways, in terms of our best practice of being able to prove what we have and prove that customers actually want it, I think has been, one of the biggest things I've been excited about, especially in the past 12 months.
Sounds great. Thank you very much, David. Unfortunately, the time is already up, but like as said before, there was a poll, so everyone who wants to connect with David directly, please reach out and connect with him. Like, I think you still have some opportunity and some space left in your pipeline at this point to like go on and tackle next projects.
Absolutely.
And thank you very much. It was really nice. So next up is already Attestiv. So also one of our portfolio companies and was also part of our batch, founded in 2018. And I have the pleasure to have Nikos here presenting today for Attestiv, the CEO who says like he spends his spare time defending the universe from deepfakes. So just shortly about Attestiv. Attestiv verifies the authenticity of digital media and data, helping business build efficient processes, improve customer experience, and provide a higher standard for information exchange. Nikos, I let you take it from here.
With the proliferation of AI-enhanced tools for creating fake images and videos, it's getting harder for people and machines to discern fakes from reality.
As this technology advances, it will become more and more difficult to determine what's real from what's fake. I'm Nikos Vekiridis, co-founder and CEO of Attestiv, a company that provides a higher standard for your digital data and media. The problem we solve is actually a growing epidemic. It's fake photos and videos. With Attestiv, you can discern real images from fakes through our patent-pending AI and blockchain-based technologies. This includes fake prevention via our tamper-proof photos and videos, and fake detection using AI analysis. We not only verify the media content, but we also track time, date, location, users, and relevant metadata.
At Attestiv, we ensure authenticity of digital media and data to protect your organization from fraud and harm. Our products cater to organizations in insurance, public safety, and IoT.
Fraud is a huge problem in the insurance industry, but it plagues other industries, particularly as we become more dependent on media like this.
Our tamper-proof technology helps enable solutions for insurance that include enhanced self-service claims, fraud prevention and detection. For example, if you were presented with these two photos from a site inspection, you might not know which one to believe. But the good news is there are ways to take action now. With our real-time detection technology, we can identify fraud in virtually any claim photo, including attempts to use photo of photos. Mobile-first customer experience. Built on our fraud-resistant foundation, along with AI acceleration, we can move manual processes to self-service and streamline them to make claims and quotes simple, growing your insurance business. Attestiv's industry-leading technology works in two ways to stop fraudulent media. First, any photos or videos captured via Attestiv apps or APIs flow through our prevention process, fingerprinting the media to distributed ledger at the point of capture, making media tamper-proof from that point forward, so that any edits or alterations can be easily identified. Second, all media from any source flows through our 6-point triage process, where it's scored on integrity, metadata, provenance, quality, photo of photo, and reuse via download. All anomalies are reported and the media is subsequently stored in your existing storage or secure cloud.
Looking at some case studies, we are working with a U.S. carrier on auto insurance in the real-time fraud detection of photos. The Attestiv solution enables the carrier to increase the amount of claims handled via straight-through processing. The benefits of this solution include improved claims processing and efficiency, reduction of fraud, and easy integration without having to redesign existing systems. We are also working with Harbor AI in exchange for commercial policies, where Attestiv technology enables a trusted self-service inspection across numerous types of commercial lines. The benefits to Harbor are a better customer experience, a fraction of the cost and time of physical inspections, and reduction of risk by having a validated condition of the commercial location within the digital record. Finally, we are working with Tech Mahindra with their Sentinel underwriting and claims platform. Here, Attestiv provides validated digital media for a next-generation insurance platform that utilizes self-service, straight-through processing, and advanced support for monitoring via Internet of Things. The platform is enhanced by Attestiv fraud prevention and offers rapid quotes and claims, automatic coverage selection, while reducing losses and fraud. We are always looking for new customers and also partners who can help us accelerate our path to market with industry-leading insurance technologies. Thank you.
So, not sure why my video is not working right now, but here we go. So perfect. So Nikos, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, can you hear me?
Perfect. Yes, great. So insightful video, very appreciated. Thank you. I'm so curious. What would I need as a carrier to integrate your solution? Like what kind of business partner are you looking for and how easy could I implement it?
That's a good question. And most of the carriers that we work with actually consume via our API interfaces. So everything that you see there, all of the capabilities that we have, both in terms of what we call the prevention technology and the detection technology, can be easily integrated into your existing processes via APIs. So essentially, by consuming these, you can go directly into your existing processes without having to rewrite them or change them.
Perfect. And how much time would I usually need as a carrier to implement your solution? How quickly could I deploy then?
Well, it's certainly very quick. I mean, it could take certainly weeks, but you know, typically the deployment cycle may start small and go to larger groups, and that's really up to the carrier. But from our point of view, our APIs are very easy to use, so it's relatively fast.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So I see like we're already up in time, unfortunately, but in case there are more questions, feel free to reach out to Nikos directly and he's happy to answer them and set up a call with you, I assume, right?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Desiree.
Thank you very much, Nikos. So with that, we're heading to the next startup, Evolution IQ. It's one of our batch startups as well, like New York-based, founded in 2019. Some of you may remember it with a different name called Deep Fraud. So Evolution IQ is a leading predictive claims analytics platform combining both carrier and external data to drive better outcomes across claim cost, containment, claim handling, automation, and fraud detection. I'm pleased to have Mike, co-founder and COO, here to present today live. So Mike, do you want to take it from here?
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. Give me 1 second and I'll share a screen and we'll get going. Appreciate everyone taking the time and spending some time with us today. So as Desi said, we are a predictive claims analytics platform, and we're powering AI-enabled solutions for leading carriers across both life and P&C products. We have two main solutions that we offer. Both are market tested with top 10 carriers currently in production. We have IQ Investigate. IQ Investigate uses our technology to spotlight malingering and potentially overpaid claims. We support these suspicions with plain English evidence and clear investigation directives. The benefits here are that claim examinations or SIU investigations have increased accuracy, lower false positives, which result in both a better customer experience post-claim, but also lower loss costs for the business. The second solution is IQ Priority. IQ Priority works from first notice of loss onward to accurately forecast and segment incoming claims by their complexity, by their severity, and by litigation risk. The idea here being we can segment claims both to the right adjuster, given that particular adjuster's historical expertise, and we can give those adjusters specific guidance as they adjust the claim, thinking about litigation risk, settlement, and strategies to close the claim with the optimal cost outcome and customer satisfaction. So just a bit on our methodology. We're a highly technical team. My co-founder spent 10 years at Google in their machine learning organization, and we have actually hired 5 ex-Googlers away from his previous employer to work with us now. We combine both client claim data, what we call your data, which is both structured and unstructured, with our data, which is large external databases, both individual and group level, that help describe claimants, their circumstances, and the context around an incident. All of this data is combined in one unified model using our artificial intelligence engine, and then deployed with our own front ends. So you'll be able to have IQ Investigate live within your claim examination or SIU unit. You'll be able to have IQ Priority sitting at first notice of loss with the triage managers. We can also deploy via API into existing core systems if that's the preference of the business. I just wanted to take a moment here and kind of give a more visceral sense of what does external data mean in this type of context. Well, certainly adjusters today can fire up LexisNexis or something of that nature, put in a claimant name and get plenty of information. The difference is that we're doing that automatically upstream of any human process. So here's an interesting case study. We work with a large carrier with 20,000 open claims in the group benefit space, very similar to work comp on long-term disability. We showed them that about 3.5% of their open claimants had unreported active businesses registered to their exact home address started after the claim began, implying that maybe they had recovered, the claim might be currently malingering. We then automatically cross-reference all of those with all the other suspicion factors that we see, both from claimant data historically to the carrier and all the other external data that we found. The intersection of these was then reported to the business via our triage application and totaled $19 million in reserves for those claims. So by the time a human gets on a claim, they're looking at 300 out of 20,000. It's that kind of needle in a haystack that IQ Investigate enables. IQ Investigate is launched via a web application that supports both triage as well as case view. It supports workflow, investigation management, assignment to certain individuals, and is used by both claim examiners and SIU investigators, as well as their managers. Very briefly, I wanted to share some results from a top 10 US carrier. Their referral acceptance from suspicious claims flagged by adjusters was previously 15% into their investigations workflow. It's now 85% with IQ Investigate. They went from impacting about 5% of those referred claims to 40% using IQ Investigate. And the number of cases that they're investigating has gone down, meaning that savings are up, cases are down, tremendously fewer false positives, and thus better customer experience. Their individual investigators are now on pace for $4.5 million in savings of case reserves annually. That's up from about $650,000 before the system. So pretty tremendous results, and this is now being replicated at other top 10 US carriers. Our second product into market, also used by top 10 carriers across the US, is called IQ Priority. This literally came out of an engagement we had with IQ Investigate, where they wanted to use the analytics that we provided upstream at first notice of loss. Now what we're doing is segmenting claims as they come in, pushing them to the right adjuster who has experience with that type of claim complexity, and then giving those adjusters a heads-up display. Likely, how big is this claim going to be? When might an attorney get involved? What's my optimal settlement path? The idea here being that, for example, if you knew an attorney was likely to get involved in this particular claim, given all that Evolution IQ knows about it, in the next 65 days, you might prioritize information collection and working with the claimant on that claim over a claim that is likely to be kind of where it is today, even if you don't prioritize it as much. That's the idea of IQ Priority. IQ Priority has been able to push 80% of the cost to the top 20% of adjusters, excuse me, and that's at first notice of loss. Additionally, we've been able to push 80% of the claims that eventually have attorney involvement to the top 25% of adjusters. Again, with escalation analytics to give them a sense of which claims are highest priority. We're targeting loss reductions of 3 to 7% and large handling expense reductions. So I think we're probably close to time. So that's our pitch. We'd love to connect with any carrier who's interested in modernizing the way that they handle their claims.
Thank you very much, Mike. Really appreciate it and very insightful as always when we hear you. So just maybe one short question, since we were really short in time, but how big is your team by now? You're just founded in 2019 and you mentioned a few Google employees.
Yeah, our team has grown tremendously. We did our second round of venture financing led by the same investors in our first round this spring. The team is now pushing 15 with several open spots. And it's all based on the traction that we've gotten in market. So we've grown, in our view, responsibly with our customer base, which is powered the growth thus far. So we're very happy with that.
Great. So if anyone knows someone, feel free to reach out. I think there is some great opportunity out there. So thank you very much, Mike. And with that, I would hand over to the next startup, to Tractable. So Tractable has been founded in 2014, is UK based, and we have the pleasure to host Jimmy and Murtaza today and to tell us a little bit about their development on the artificial intelligence for accident and disaster recovery. Jimmy, Murtaza, are you on the line?
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Perfect. So I'll let you take it from here.
You got it. Thank you very much, Desiree. We appreciate being invited today. What we'll talk about first is what we're very proud of. If you look at the bottom of the slide, Tractable is the 5th leading insurtech globally from the Insurtech 100. Last year we were number 23, this year number 5. Just an extensive amount of work went into get us into that position. The team out of the UK has done a tremendous job. And if we take a look at the top of the slide, what we specialize in is AI for accident and disaster recovery. One of our things that we really do a great job in is what Mike mentioned is a tough thing for a lot of people to do. And I took some notes, and he was talking about placing claims into the right channel. You'll see when Murtaza talks about it, you're going to see us being able to take the vehicle, understand if it's repairable or not repairable, and then place that claim into the right channel. We're at the far end of that upward curve that Mike showed us. And the companies across the globe, in fact, we have 15 major carriers in 12 global markets to include North America, Europe, and Asia. We've processed over $1 billion in claims. We also use our AI in a little bit different way with LKQ, which is the largest purchaser of salvage in the United States. So as we're able to take a look at a vehicle if it's damaged, we can also see if a vehicle is not damaged. So far to date, we've secured $55 million in funding. One of the partners that I'd like to talk about is Georgian Partners. This company specializes in providing funds to companies that are AI enabled. They are an AI specialty company, and we're very proud to have them as an investor. And they've really recognized how superior our AI is. We do have a team now of 140. We're in London. We have an office in New York and Tokyo. In fact, if you all look at LinkedIn, we just did an update on the office in Tokyo. Murtasa, if you can, take the next slide.
Great. Thank you, Jimmy. And just one other thing to mention here is, although we started in 2014, we've seen quite a rapid growth globally with some of the top players in the market. So we're really proud of our achievement to date, and we're continuing on that path with that growth. And so what I'd love to do is briefly touch on what actually our core technology is and how it works. And from there, we can talk a little bit about the products that we've deployed in the market. So our technology is primarily AI to classify visual damage. So to Jimmy's point, how it works is the AI looks at images of a damaged vehicle. It's able to identify the parts on the vehicle, identify the damage severity, and from there generates appraisal decisions such as repair replace operations, repair hours, blends, R&Is, etc., to actually flesh out an estimate. Now, our AI has been trained on hundreds and millions of photos across the globe, and we're looking at different year, make, models, different damage severity, even different weather conditions. So it's quite a robust model, and because we've got such a large training data set, our AI is year, make, model agnostic. Regardless of the photos of the vehicle that come in, the AI is able to determine the damage, whether it's a BMW or if it's a Toyota. It's able to identify the panels of the vehicle as well as the damage. And so this artificial intelligence technology powers 3 different products that we have all live and deployed in the market. On the far left, we have AI Review. This is our most mature product that we've deployed with insurers. And essentially, AI Review is an automated visual audit of both external or internal repair estimates. So if you think about the current process to date, estimates are coming in from shops, and there's an existing audit, primarily rules-based system. With our AI Review solution, every claim and every photograph is analyzed by our AI. So you're getting a visual audit, and you're able to identify if there are any potential leakages. This allows for every claim to be reviewed and decreases the amount of time required for the desk review team to review the claim. Very quickly, I know we're at time, but with AI triage and estimating, these are our most mature products in the market. And this is really getting towards the goal of a touchless claim. So in a matter of minutes, the AI is able to look at the photos of a vehicle and determine, 1, the triage decision, so whether a vehicle is repairable or total loss, and 2, generate a full estimate, all on purely photos of the vehicle. And with that, we've got our contact information here. Happy to answer any questions and connect with you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much to both of you. It was nice having you on the line. So maybe just as a closing question, since we're already up in time, we learned before that you've, I believe, both been working for large corporations before. So what has been your biggest adventure now with the new company? What do you appreciate more?
I'll tell you what I really appreciate is the fact that companies, particularly now with COVID-19, what they had in their roadmaps, and I retired from USAA, what they had in their roadmaps when I was there has greatly been accelerated to go more virtual much sooner. And that really calls for a lot of courage in an organization, because now they have to deprioritize certain projects and reprioritize other, shift money around. It's a big thing with their IT divisions, and I'm glad that we're here to help them with that. But it's a really big thing for a company like that to, that has a 5-year plan to really shift its priorities.
Yes, I agree. So we heard that a lot. Thank you very much to both of you. Unfortunately, we need to wrap it up at this point, but I mean, we got your contact details, and if anything, if someone watches the recording, please feel free to reach out to us, and we're happy to make an intro for you to Jimmy and Martusa. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
With that, I just wanted to shortly stress we have more upcoming webinars on like the ITC that we're co-hosting and on the world tour. So feel free to sign up for this today, and then remote patient monitoring. So for all the ones that are here and interested in life and health, please feel free to join us for this occasion as well. Then policyholder retention on October 14th and October 28th, our well-known Bridge the Gap event, this time around responsible AI and financial services, which is going to be a great event. So thank you all for tuning in. It was great. So in case you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to our precious colleague, Rachel Sapienza, for any questions or follow-ups. And yeah, just don't forget to submit your feedback in the pop-up survey that will pop up right after you leave the meeting. Thank you. And have a great day.